Oils, engine oils. Here we are at the end of the two-stroke era, and we're just beginning to find out some important things that have been overlooked. When we're talking about petroleum oils, there's a range of carbon chains, talking about the molecular composition. Gasoline has about an average about 9 carbon chains. Kerosene about 16. And then as you go up with the different types of oils, you got the group 1 from 10 to 30, group 2 from 20 to 50. Then we jump up to group 5, which I'm estimating a low of 35. I'm not sure about that, up to 60. And it so happens, for some strange reason, that there's a relation between the carbon chains and the combustibility of the oil. The oil that does not match this scheme is castor oil. And I'll talk about that later. So, the combustibility you see right here is with a synthetic oil, and then these two mineral oils. It somewhat has to do with the carbon chain numbers, and somewhat has to do with the amount of kerosene or dispersant that is added to the product. But before I even knew that, it got me thinking. I did this years ago. So when they pulled the petroleum out of the ground, they process it with heat. Different levels of heat produce different levels of petroleum products, from gasoline to different oils, different fuels. Let me get you thinking mathematically here. If a carbon chain of 60 is mixed in with a carbon chain of 9 at 3%, what does that change? How does that change the average carbon chain number of the oil and fuel mix? So we'll say 0.03, 3% times 60 is 1.8. Add that in. Then 0.97, 97% times 9 is 8.73. Add that in. Give me the total. Well, you got 10.53 divided by 9 is 1.17. So you've increased the average carbon chain number of the fuel oil mix using synthetic at 3%. You've increased it 17%. Okay, so even looking at it mathematically, it should have an effect on the combustibility of the mix. And so then you've got this graph that you can add in. This is top dead center right here. This is the moment of ignition of the fuel oil mix in the cylinder. And so you get an instant rise in PSI that peaks between 10 and 15 degrees after top dead center. Yeah, it's not like an explosion where it all combusts all at once. It's pretty fast, but it's not. Let's look at a video that shows otherwise. You see that? This is a 4-stroke. They do tend to have a slightly longer burn because the because of less atomization than a two-stroke has. That's going to burn. So about halfway down is when the exhaust port opens on a two-stroke, which is about right there. Yeah. So the majority of the burn happens before the exhaust opens on a two-stroke. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that it's a long burn, relatively speaking. So, in my way of thinking, a long combustion would better fit an engine that has a short exhaust port open duration, because if you look at the graph here, if an exhaust port has a 160 degree duration, its exhaust port opens at 100 degrees after top dead center. And if it has a 200 degree duration, its exhaust port opens at 80 degrees after. So the shorter the duration, the longer the time is before that port opens. Okay. So in my way of thinking, the burn should happen for a longer time to match a short duration, and should happen quickly for a long duration. Okay, which is represented right here in the dotted line of combustion PSI for a long duration port engine, and then this solid green one for a short duration engine. Granted, a 200 degree port engine is going to be revving at high RPM, and a 160 at much lower RPM. The higher RPM, the more turbulence the fuel mixture is subject to, and so the more atomization happens of the fuel molecules, the fuel droplets, which increases the burn speed, makes it happen faster, makes it more like this graph instead of this graph. But I'm just thinking that it would also be beneficial to have the type of fuel and oil mix be in agreement with that. Be fast burn for a high RPM engine, and slower burn for a low RPM engine. But like with any idea, it has to be tested. This is my little town I live in Ecuador, and you see it's surrounded by mountains. Over on this side over here is a nice long uphill that's just perfect for my engine, because it allows the engine to reach about 80% of its maximum RPM as it's going up the hill. And so I'm able to test the power level by the RPM on that upper section. So I use my 48cc motorized bicycle engine, and it's been updated. It's got an adjustable CDI. It's got a Mikuni 18mm carburetor. It's got a reed valve. The cylinder I ported for the power band that I wanted. And taking this cover off, I've got the exposed magneto that I'm able to use an infrared temperature sensor to make sure the temperature is the same at the beginning of each run, because the crank temperature affects the atomization of the fuel going into the upper cylinder. And so yeah, I did uphill tests on it. And what I found is that different types of oils require different ignition timing for the best peak RPM, which translates to the best power. Some oils showed very little difference with different ignition timing, and some of them showed a lot of difference. So this is the peak. Well, let me go on this scale right here is the ignition timing, and it's a relative thing. This is like the set point I used, and this is like 3 degrees more retarded, almost 7 degrees more retarded, and this is going more advanced. So this area here is more advanced, this area is more retarded. So the synthetic, which is a high carbon chain oil, was on the advanced side. Group 2 mineral oil, peaking right here, just about, I think the peak, actually the peak on this one was right here, just by a little bit, like 200 RPM. And then the peak on the mineral oil is just next to the left there. Semi-synthetic, which is Motul 710, is getting over toward the retarded side because of the fast burn characteristics of the group 1 mineral oil. And then the 2 castor oils I tried, far left, the most retarded. Being on this side, retarded means it's a fast burn. So that if you plotted the peaks of all those that I tested, the all synthetic oil, which is the Ipone I tested, the group 2, which is the Syn Plus, the synthetic combined with the group 1, the semi-synthetic, which was the Motul 710, the all castor, which is the Klotz Binol, and the castor synthetic blend, which was the castor 927. If you replot them, you'll get this graph right here, showing that these 3 groups are in the fast burn section, and these 2 groups are in the slow burn section. Okay, but basically, when you reset the timing, you're able to keep them all very close at the same power. Okay, so the takeaway of this study is that different types of oils need different ignition timing for best power. And this right here on this page, which I'll show you, this is the web address of this page, tells how to set the ignition timing. And of course it depends on what you're looking for. You want to look for best low end power, best top end power, best all around power. Whatever you're looking for, set the ignition timing for that. I know it's a pain in the ass. You got to have a magneto pulling tool. You got to take the time and the effort to do it. But on some of these oils, look at what happens with the temperature. This is the head temperature, okay? I was using my infrared sensor aiming at the base of the spark plug on each of these runs, and you can see if you're too advanced using Motul 710, you're way up here in temperature when you could be way down here. What does that mean? That means you're more likely to seize. Same thing with castor 927. The Binol was very stable. We've got a pretty steep change in temperature here and here. So most oils are very very temperature sensitive when it comes to the timing. So if you live like in a really hot climate and you're doing really hard racing, maybe you'll have to go so far retarded to bring the temperature down that you're more retarded than the than the peak power setting. That's okay. Anything to prevent seizing. So what I'm adding here is just one more aspect to the whole picture. Okay, these are my conclusions so far. Go ahead and pause the video so you can read these. The third one is my recommendation for quick burn oils for high RPM engines and slow burn oils for low RPM engines. I just got back from a quick test comparing the all synthetic oil, which is best with timing over here, to Motul 710, which is best with timing over here. And even though I changed the timing to match the two, I still got better. I got better results using the synthetic. I got 150 RPM more. It's just one test. I need to redo it and redo it again. That's the way testing goes. You can't fully rely on just one test. But if that's any indication, that's backing me up on my idea of how the oil should match the engine. So on this page on my website that has this information, if you scroll down, this link right here will go to my web page about engine oils. And if you scroll down, you'll find the data on each one. It tells you what percent of different oil types are in it, the viscosities, the density, the flash point. Some people go a lot by flash point. I don't, because the flash point lowers with the more kerosene and dispersants are added to the product, because this is the final product flash point. I just look at the percentages of what oils are part of it. The castor and the synthetic oils have a very high flash point. Group 2, about 40 degrees less, and then group 1, a lot less. So this is a great collection of information right here. So anyway, on this page about the oil combustibility, at the bottom of it, it lists which oils are fully mineral oil. Notice here that Yamalube is listed. It used to be 12% synthetic. No more. It is fully mineral oil right now. It tells you which oils are semi-synthetic, which oils are fully synthetic, which ones are synthetic castor. But all that information is on this page that's linked to anyway. So that's about it. I guess I don't have anything more to say on the subject for now. It'll be interesting what kind of results you get, and if you want to shoot some of your information my way, that'd be nice to hear. Lastly, I'd like to plug my my website, this is the address for it right here. And if you click on this link right here, you'll go to my page about the spreadsheet calculators that I've made. The expansion chamber, crank balance, jetting, porting, squish, which calculates both the velocity and the volume being just as important as the velocity, boost bottle, fuel oil ratio, carburetor size, all of them together, only $70. Highly recommended, unless you like playing the guessing game, which I don't like playing it. It's too timely and too costly. Okay, thank you, my friends, for watching. Take care.